Hello, and welcome to a brand new YouTube series I'm putting together. It's called How to Lightly Weather a Boxcar. I'm Jack with Northwest Modeler. I've got in front of me a Walthers 60-foot boxcar styled for the Great Northern. They had 8 of these road numbers, numbered 139500 to 139508. As you can see, I've broken down the model. I've got everything taken apart. It's just how I like to weather stuff. I like to do everything individually so that each part looks weathered in its own way and not like I just slapped some stuff on the model. In addition to the model and the way it came, since it was Walthers, I discarded the plastic wheels and added some Intermountain wheels I've got here. And then I've also got the KD couplers here, the number 14s. In order to complete this task here, I've got everything I need here, which in this case I'll be starting off with a layer of dull coat. This Tester's dull coat is something you can grab from pretty much any hobby store, Hobby Lobby, Hobby Town. Any of those places will have this stuff. Make sure to get the stuff with the dull coated cap on there, because otherwise we'll be using gloss enamel and that will not look as well. These are the couplers I added. It's just a whole box of them. Other thing I use is some big white wire brushes and a toothbrush. That helps me clean the model off before I do dull coat, and chalks, because since we're using chalks, you'll basically be fingerprinting the model. So if you have any fingerprints left on it, you will find them. I also have my set of dry brushes here. Of everything I've got several of them. I picked up the white brush there. That one's a set of micro brushes I picked up from Amazon for 10 bucks. The rest of them I picked up from Hobby Lobby or whatnot. But I like having a couple different sizes of brushes, just to add all the chalks on it as I please. I usually reference some sort of photo of my model. In this case, I've got a prototype photo here from one of my 4 Ways West books. Great Northern Boxcars and Equipment, Volume 1 by Scott Thompson. In this book, he's got photos of all sorts of Great Northern Boxcars, and in this case, he's got photos of not the same number, but the exact number and the exact era I'm looking for here, which I model 1965 to 1966 on the Great Northern, so really before Big Sky Blue. And this model was purchased by the Great Northern in 1966. So I'm going to do a lightly weathered look. As you'll notice, the car is not very weathered. There are only a couple spots on there where you can really see it. The handrails have some weathering on them, where the door slides in and out, where the handles on the door have been touched by greasy loaders. That's another spot you'll weather. And then really the trucks is one of the biggest things that'll make this model pop. But I mean, the model right now as it stands is fantastic. It's got super great detail on it. It's heavy. It feels great. The next thing we'll do here before I come back and start weathering this with my chalks is I'm going to apply a coat of dull coat to this. So I always use it outside in a well-ventilated area, as you're supposed to. I do it out back of my house outside on a nice day. Good thing it's a nice day. The real key to this is that if you are looking for a nice finish to it, you need to soak this in a bath of warm water before you use it, because that'll allow the spray particles in here to actually separate from each other instead of staying all close. So in addition to shaking it well, you also need to bathe it in a bath of warm water to heat it up. So I'm gonna go do that. I'm also gonna dull coat the trucks. And dull coating is important because the model as it stands now has a semi-gloss finish to it, and the chalks will stick to it, but they won't stick very well. They'll stick a whole lot better to your dull coated model. So the general process is dull coat, chalk, and then more dull coat, and then you're done. So it's fairly straightforward. I'll show you how to get it done. Now that I've got that boxcar dull coated, it's time to start adding the chalks to it. Just for reference here, I've added this photo. I've got it right in front of me here. And I'll be going off that when I do my chalk weathering for the most part. And as you can see, there's not much to do, but the subtle effects that are there can be done with chalks. Just so you can see what I'm working with, I got the car sitting here, and off to my side I've got my chalk palette. got a whole series of chalks here with my brushes by the side and my mixing palettes over here. I'm doing what's called dry brushing, so I load my brush up with chalk and then I'll dab off a lot of the chalk and leave just a little bit of residue left on the paintbrush there when I go to wipe it on the car. Because this stuff's super fine, and so if you use a lot of it, it will show up really heavily in the car. So in order to avoid doing that, we're gonna use the dry brushing technique to get it to sit pretty. So I'm gonna start with some black pigments here that I've already got. And this is going to be super light, and all I'm trying to do is highlight some road grime here on the handrails. So what I want to do is grab just enough to start adding some black grime here. And if you get too much, you can kind of work it out, but you really want to add it slowly here. So that is already almost there. Add some around the edges here, but really I'm just trying to just barely make it so that it'll show up. I'm almost putting a little bit down here on the grab step, try to dirty that up, but ultimately it's probably going to do that side. So now for the other side, same thing. I want that chalk to stick to the top and bottom of these pieces as I go by them here. So I'm gonna kind of brush it over there. There's a bunch of chalk in the brush that will go onto here. You just need to kind of be patient and put it over there. And I mean, it is extremely subtle. This is not an easy thing to do, but it just takes time. So yeah, there you go. Now I kind of got something going. So I think next I'm going to go for some of the sides of the car. And then that kind of will be done with this earth tone color I got, this chalk here. Look a little bit like this. And that one will be lightly applied down each one of these ribs on the car. One thing to note is on a brown car like this, and you're putting brown chalks on it, it'll kind of show up when I do it. And then when I go to do the dull coat on it, it will pretty much disappear. So I'm being careful to strike straight down the car with every brush stroke, adding just a little bit of chalk each time. This should accomplish the feel of having some streaking right down the side of the car, down each one of these cracks. Because I mean, technically, you got to think about how rain's gonna work. So you're gonna have rain fall on the car. It's gonna collect whatever dust and stuff's on the top, and then drag it down the side of the car. And unless the car is moving at 60 miles an hour, it's gonna go straight down the car. So I'm being pretty careful to make some straight strokes here. So then I added more chalk to this earth tone I've got, which is a pretty good dust tone. And I'm trying to highlight these rivets, so they'll show up a little dirtier if I get some weathering going. So that's about it for this side. Now I'll continue. Grab some more of this dark brown chalk I got. I'm gonna go right along the bottom of the car here, especially underneath the doorway. Should help give a little bit more focus to it. So in the door itself, I mean, on a boxcar, you touch, you know, the train crew will touch these two sides, and then whoever's loading and unloading will touch the door. So the majority of the weathering for a car like this is going to be rain wash from dust, another road grime, and then road crew on the ladders, and then handling crews on the doors, and plus whatever they're doing when they're loading in and out. If they got a forklift that's dusty, a dusty site. So I generally like going side to side on the doors, just adding just a little bit more dust to it, because it'll get a little bit dusty. And there's more ribs on the door too, it's going to catch more of this. Doesn't really matter which way you go, but just know that you have a brush here that's loaded with chalk. Not much, but it is loaded. And if you strike this way down the side of the car here, it'll catch on all these ribs and it'll rub it off. So you can really kind of get some. So I'm unloading my loaded brush. So I put chalk on it. I'm unloading it this way, and then I'll go straight down the car to try to get anything on there to streak and come off. And again, it's not much, but I really like that. I like where this is going. It does not take much to make this stuff weathered. Adding a little bit of more grime on here underneath. That's basically one side. I'll add a little bit of black pigment here right around the door latches, so you can get some grime going, maybe some grease for the door handle. Get a little black. That's perfect. But on the see some paper on the car, and so I've got a sheet of printer paper here, and I'll cut a couple strips of it real quick, off camera of course. So I'm gonna grab some glue all, just my standard glue, multi-purpose glue. If you get school glue, it's dulled down, it's not nearly as good, and it will give you some headaches. I've got my handy dandy toothpick applicator and a set of tweezers. Take a small dab of this glue, put it on the back of this piece of paper I got. And then very carefully take it and then I'm going to stick it on the car here. And that glue will dry, and we'll have a piece of paper signifying where the car's going. Let's see one on this prototype picture right here. This is the perfect step to add little details like that, because this is when you're going to be, before you dull coat a car, that's a good time to do it. And then I got a little bit of black chalk here. I'll streak it across in one direction. And that'll sort of make it look like there's some writing on there. So, that's one side. Next we'll do the roof. So I'm going to take my same brush. I just want a really light coat of some streaking on here. I'm gonna work in one direction across the car, kind of getting a little bit done at a time. Not doing a whole lot, but just enough to add some differentiation on here. So a box car like this has got, it looks like it's an aluminum roof, but it's actually an aluminum painted roof. So this is a painted roof by the railroad. So we'll add a darker streak right here. Maybe another darker one right next to it. So over time, this roof will kind of wear a little bit and do what it's gonna do. So again, I'm going straight up and down on the roof. Got another lighter gray here we'll use a little bit. Let's see what that does. Again, this is all trial and error thing. I've got an image in my head of what I'm going for, but I don't really particularly have that envisioned. So there we go. I mean, this is the side of the car that's just been dull coated, and here's the side that's been lightly weathered, and that's probably about as weathered as I'm going to go. Continue across the side here. But I'm just going to add some just light streaks. Each one of these pieces right here is a ridge on top of there. And I'm being careful to apply this chalk really down deep in the ridges. I'm being random about it, consistent about it, to try to give it a nice look to it. I got some brown here, see if that makes any difference. Another thing I also do is as you go across here, a lot of times your brush has got a lot more chalk than you think on there. So you can do a couple different zones at the same time. Maybe brush up once, unload here, and then maybe you're like, oh, I'll put some right here. So one thing I'm careful to do is when I do a roof like this, I don't want to have any giant chunks of leftover chalk left on there. So once I'm done, I'll kind of streak across the whole thing to make sure that all the chalk's off. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's see here. Yeah, so then when you take the car like this and you look at it, the roof does not look uniform anymore. It looks like it's actually been out there in the weather. And the side of the car here looks like it's been in the weather. So then the only thing we've got to do left is do the end. So we'll do the end with the brake wheel. So again, I'm going to do pretty much the same technique I did on the front. I got black chalk on there. I'm just going to slowly streak it straight down. To the other side. Put a little bit on the walkway. Take a little bit of my earth tone stuff, put that on the walkway. Of course, railroaders have muddy boots. Put some of the earth tone stuff on here. And then put some earth tone on this brake wheel. And then kind of load it up a lot with earth tone and start streaking it across the top of the car. Work down. And streak all the way down with it to unload the brush. And there we got a weathered end. It's about as much as I want to do, except I'll take some more of this earth tone and Throw it in the coupler box, or the draft gear, I guess. Try to strike it off. There we go. So I'll do the other end and the other side off camera, but essentially we've got a fairly lightly weathered boxcar. The last thing we'll do here with the chocks is I got a set of trucks here. So on the trucks you've got the roller bearings here, the springs, and then the actual truck assembly. So I like to take the earth tones. I grabbed a smaller brush here, and I like the earth tones here. I'll take the earth tones over the kind of the whole thing. If I grab my other brush, and just get everything brown. I just did this on another set of trucks for some club cars at my Evergreen Club, and I over-weathered them and then dull coated them, and they still came out pretty black. So I'm trying to add a little bit more to these guys. Unlike with friction bearings, these roller bearings stay pretty good. They don't need much grease around them. I don't like doing much other stuff, but the springs, I do like taking some bright, fresh rust powder and just dousing them in it. Kind of get it all up in and around there. Sometimes it's black, sometimes it's not. And then one thing I'll do off camera here is blow on it to get chalk off, so that kind of, it helps set where it's going to be. So I've got my fine brush here that I'm using, and take some of that dark earth tone and work it in around the outside of the roller bearing. And again, I'm over weathering, assuming that everything's kind of gonna wash away when I throw the dull coat on there. So there you go. There's a truck weathered. Probably won't do much more to this model here. I will go off camera again and dull coat. But that being said, that's about it for the weathering process. That took me all of 21 minutes to do the chalk on that. So I had another 10-15 minutes to do the other side, and another 10 minutes to dull coat, and that's all it takes. So I'll check back in with you guys once I've dull coated the model. All right, so I got dull coat applied, got the car reassembled, and got it all back up. I think it looks fantastic. As you can see, the dull coat kind of wore down some of the sides here. You can really just super subtly see our weathering, but it's really evident from the side. The roof looks fantastic. It's just enough contrast that it gives you the look of metal roof, but it's not overpowering or over weathered. The underside's undone, but that's okay. The trucks here, as you can see, look fairly black, but they look dull black, so I'll take it. It's kind of hard to get black stuff to take chalk really well, especially the trucks. But I mean, even right in here in the couplers, there's enough variation from the different colors I put in there that you can see what's going on. I guess I'll paint the wheels at some other time here. But that's the car. I think it looks fantastic. I'm super happy with how it turned out, and do another one here soon. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you liked what I got. And I hope you have more to come. I anticipate making this channel kind of a general modeling channel, and probably won't do a whole bunch of running stuff other than some of my own deal. But I will do a lot of craftsman buildings, wooden buildings, Great Northern stuff, and whatever else runs with the Great Northern. I mean, whatever I can get my hands on. So hope you tune in, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, enjoy, and model on your own. So this is Northwest Modeler signing out. Happy modeling.